statements?
Good weekend for JSU football, man. It was a intense weekend down at the Boombox Classic down in Baton Rouge. Big win over Southern. A rivalry game, a game that means a lot to this program. I'm very glad and pleased with our football team, the way we went down there and played football this past weekend. The crowd was amazing, the stadium was amazing, the trip was good. But some guys stepped up this week. Very proud of Jacobian Morgan, let me say that. He's been receiving a lot of heat about his play this year, being preseason offensive player of the year, and he went out there and responded, and played his brand of football. So I can't say enough about him. Going forward, these receivers and, the way those guys played on the perimeter. Jameel Gardner is having a solid year right now. Janaylin Dupree, Nate Rembert, all those guys are playing good football. We're running the ball well. Defensively, we played pretty good football too. To hold them to 13 points in that game, I was very pleased. Created a huge turnover by Cam Silas that I thought just really turned the whole football game around right there. So we're excited, but now we got to put that one behind us and start getting ready for A&M this week in the Gulf Coast Challenge down in Alabama.
Coach Taylor, how important was it for you to start SWAC play with the win?
Well, it was the SWAC play, but for us, it's like you got to win on the road in those kind of environments. However you could get the win, that's what we was about this past weekend. But no doubt, it's a SWAC game. Every game counts from here on out for us. So you don't want to be, in the end of October and November waiting on somebody else to lose. We're in control of our own destiny right now, and that's the way we want to keep it.
Are there any guys that you feel like, besides the one you named, were like noticeable, taking a step forward that you guys can quickly game forward?
It's those hidden guys. Like, you got some guys on that offensive line playing at a high level. I mean, Brian Williams, let me call him that. A sophomore, true sophomore. He's playing great football. Let me think. On the defensive line, Bowie is playing great football. It's a lot of hidden names that you don't hear a lot about. How about Kamari Rogers stepped up and made some huge plays in the secondary for us this past weekend as well. So, this team is starting to kind of figure it out, but we're still quite not where I want us to be, but we're starting to figure it out.
Speaking of Kamari Rogers, actually, with a guy who comes in with kind of the other, SEC experience, maybe I know he's dealt with some injuries, Miami and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you notice anything that he brings to the team just from the experience of being on some of those power conferences and that he brings to a team like this?
Well, he's just a good football player. You talk about athleticism and a guy that is a ball hawk on that back end. That's why he was rated so high coming out of high school and going to those places you just talked about. But his dad is a football coach. He's a ball guy. I played with him here, Coach Rogers down there at Holmes County, doing a great job right now. So he's been around ball all his life. But he's a ball hawk. He's a number one caliber corner, and he's showing it now. I think his thing has been just having an opportunity. He's been at a lot of places, this is his first time having the opportunity to get on the football field and showing what he can do.
Do you find guys like that that come in, because you've had plenty of transfers from other schools too, do you find that they have a different kind of hunger at all to just kind of make this opportunity after having some past experience, or maybe they weren't?
Oh, definitely. I mean, their thing is they just trying to get it right. This is his third stop. He needed somewhere to call home, and what better place, an in-state kid, from the state of Mississippi. Like I said, his family went to Jackson State and everything. So, those guys, when they have when they're coming out of the portal, they just want an opportunity and try to get it right, and we try to help those guys with that.
Getting the win on the road, like you just mentioned, also help with going on the road again here early in the season and just getting those kind of out of the way, but out of the way with wins?
Oh, definitely. Let me say this about this one we're going into this weekend. We've been owning Alabama down there, so we look forward to it. We got a lot of guys that's played in that game. I told them after the game we played the other night, I want to bring that trophy back home and add to the other, 3 or 4 we got. And they understand that, but you got to win on the road. If you're talking about playing for SWAC championships, national titles, you got to be able to win on the road in this conference.
Coach, what would you say was like the flip of the switch? What was the biggest difference that you told your team after the first half? It was a slow start, but kind of come to the second half.
Well, I just reminded them how the last year's SWAC championship game was. It was slow like that to me. I mean, to me, the other day, we played horrible in the first quarter and a half. It was just, I didn't recognize what was going on. We had the muff punt by Mike Smith. That caught me off guard. I think Lundy, our true freshman on the special teams, jumped off sides. He could have got back on side. It's just like we wasn't locked in. And I told him at the halftime when Jalen was able to catch that touchdown pass, I said it was the same thing last year. Zy McDonald pops that touchdown. We tied the game up. I said, now, let's go do what we do and play 4 quarters of football. And that's something we hang our hat on here at Jackson State. We're going to play 4 quarters. Till that clock is at the end, and that's what they did. We came out and continued to run the ball well, generated some more explosive plays. You saw Nate Rimber was able to generate an explosive play. Defense played well. So, and that's what we're about here. We're gonna play 4 quarters of football. But I told them at the half, it still got that same vibe to me from last year's SWAC championship game.
You said your team is starting to figure it out. What are those missing pieces to get them all the way there?
Just still trying to learn to play together. I think that's one thing. We still gotta. I think now this past weekend we did a good job of playing complementary football. That was the first time I saw us do that. But I'm still waiting on that explosive play from special teams. We got a All-American kick returner here, Travis Terrell. I'm ready to see him. Get some points on that special teams. But it's just the little things. The penalties are still bad. You can ask the players how that went yesterday in practice. But we got to continue to work on that. But October is what's important for us right now. We got to play good football in October. They understand that. But we're steady coming together. Like I said, we put up over 500 yards of offense. Trey Holly for them is a special player. For us to go out there, I know he still had over 100 yards, but 3 or 4 of those were explosive runs. But they was able to bottle up the quarterback and take him out of the game. So, like I said, we getting there as a football team, as a program. So I'm looking forward to the month of October.
Are you going into this game, Alabama A&M preparing for 2 quarterbacks, or just preparing more so for Eric Henry? I know Quad Browns.
Yeah, that's a great question. We prepare for the scheme, though. The scheme is the scheme, no matter who is that. No different than when we was playing Southern the other day. We didn't really necessarily prepare for Cam McCall or the other kid. It was the scheme, what these coordinators are doing. But whatever guy out there, we got to put pressure on him. They both can get it done. They can put points up on the scoreboard. They're a well-coached team. Coach Shade is a good football coach. He's done some great things down there at Miles. But, we're going to coach and prepare for the scheme that we've been seeing on tape.
At this point in the season, do you feel like your team has hit a groove, especially getting a win like this weekend, that you're comfortable kind of with the systems that you guys have put in place? Yeah,
I think that's what I mean when I say we're getting there. I think we're getting there. I had a big question mark. This was our first win on the road again. I'm going to say that in that kind of atmosphere, playing a lot of young players out there, wanted to see how they would respond. But I think we're getting there. This is another big challenge this week. We're not going to take Alabama A&M light. They're going to come out and, want to win this classic just like we do. So this is another big road test for us. And, I'll be able to gauge our team after this weekend as well, getting ready for homecoming next week.
One more point on the depth, like you're always mentioning, the game against Tuskegee, you saw a lot of names pop up that maybe you don't see getting so many minutes on the field. How does that help at this point when you're going into SWAC play to know that, do they have the knowledge that they just feel more comfortable, or do you just know more about the pieces you have? Or does that come into play during SWAC play?
It just makes us comfortable as a staff when you have those injuries and things like that. Guys are ready to go, no matter if they're freshman, sophomore, transfer. They know the system, and that's what we call the preseason. Those first 3 games, you try to get as many guys in those football games for this time, for the month of October, for November. So when you do have injuries, guys go down. We didn't have Jeremiah Williams for a couple ball games this past week, and those other young guys stepped up on the defensive line. Same at receiver. You got some guys down as well, but people are stepping up. But that's what it's all about. If you don't have depth, you don't have an opportunity, in my opinion, to play for a championship.
Any more questions? All right.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.